Hi again. So the first model I want to go through is a model called integral theory. And integral theory is a meta system to help you understand all the other systems that you're looking at. There are a number of different parts of the integral model, and I've taught this a lot. I don't want to drag this video out, so I'm just going to teach you one part that's going to be really important, and it's called the stages of development. And they are levels of consciousness development that all adults go through and rise through until they stop developing. What this has done for me is helped me to understand really almost anyone, really understand why they're valuing the things that they're valuing, why they're looking at the world in the way that they're looking at the world, and how I can help to craft my interaction with them and to craft their experience to get them to the right place, whether that's working with me, working with someone else. Doesn't really matter to me as long as they're going where they need to go in order to get the help that they need to get. So this model is, again, built on levels of consciousness development, not some kind of frou-frou, spiritual, disconnected consciousness, but really studied by sociologists and anthropologists and psychologists through decades in the West. So there's a lot of academic work really built into this. And the form of these levels of consciousness that I'm using is developed from integral theory, again, mostly by a man named Ken Wilber. So all these are built in colors. So the whole spectrum of what we're looking at is a level system of colors, so that no one feels left out, no one feels like we're doing a 1, 2, 3, and if you're a 3 and I'm a 1, that means I'm a bad. There's none of that. It's all colors. And throughout, as we're climbing through each of these colors, what it's signifying is that there is more inclusivity, more access to feeling and awareness and connectedness, more openness, more expansiveness, and that tends to lead to a whole different experience. So I'm not going to start at the very bottom because those aren't relevant to us, but I'm going to start at, I'll give you just the background. So it starts at beige, then goes to red, then goes to blue. So we're going to start at blue, go through blue, orange, green, and then teal and turquoise. So the first one that I said I was going to start with is blue. And in the blue level of development, what happens is the introduction of all kinds of rules and all kinds of roles. So in this rule and role centered way of being, it's really trying to add a lot of structure and a lot of how do I do it right or how do you do it wrong? What's good, what's bad, what's in, what's out. And to give you a little bit of context, the level before blue is called red. And in red, it's really kind of get, take, and just steal or have whatever you want by taking it from others. A red level of consciousness would be like a mob boss or like a gang member who's really just going to take whatever they want because it's why shouldn't I? And if it hurts someone else, then who cares? So in blue, blue looks at that and says that's not going to work. And in blue, in business, this is a traditional mom and pop style business. This is a business that just wants to follow the right way of doing things. It wants to treat its customers really well. It's not really looking at any sort of major growth. It's very kind of Main Street classic hardware store style business, and it's lovely. It's beautiful. We love that that business exists, and in this modern culture and in this modern context, it's not going to last that long because there's just so much competition. So blue, again, is always looking for what's right, for what's wrong. It's looking for how to do things in a way that really sets them up to win, but not in a major winning sense, but really just because it's the right way to do it. The next step up from that is a level called orange. The reason orange is important is it's the first level that is really deeply connected to achievement and striving and pulling myself up by my own bootstraps and making everything that I want the world to be mine. It's very achievement oriented, it's very striving. It can sometimes be a little manipulative. Kind of one of the mottos that happens at Orange is win-win as long as I win first or I win a little bit more. It's very competitive. It tends to be more masculine. And in Orange, what we're seeing in business is the rise of the corporation, the rise of structures to really build massive, massive, massive amounts of wealth. And it's all about getting ahead. So if you think about a classic Wall Street parking garage, you'll see Ferrari, Mercedes, BMW, Maserati, like all of the showpiece cars are going to be there. And the people wearing the $2,000 suits, the $5,000 suits, it's really all about status and it's about getting ahead. It's very scientific, very rational, very linear, very mechanistic. It diminishes feelings. It's not really very connected to emotions, and it's definitely diminishing spirituality. So the other thing that's really interesting is I would say 90% of the business advice in the marketplace is orange. And the challenge with that is it makes a lot of money, but it's diminishing so many parts of the self that for people who are doing spiritual work, for people who have been doing waking up work, people who are really mission driven, it can feel really confusing and really disconnected. It doesn't mean that these are bad people, it just means that the tactics that they use aren't going to feel as nurturing and as deeply really connected to the heart and open and vulnerable as most of the clients that I'm working with. So it's really critical to start to recognize what this thematic element and this thematic meme starts to look like, because you're going to start to see it everywhere. I mean, like I said, literally 90% or more of the business advice that's out there is all happening in orange. That whole get out there, make it happen, grind mentality is all from that level of development. So the next level of development we have, when someone tops out at orange, what you see is they say, okay, I've got the millions of dollars, I've got the cars, I've got the boats. Now what? Like, I'm not happy, I'm not satisfied. I didn't really do anything positive in the world. Yeah, I made my company a whole lot of money, I make the stockholders money. And then what? Like, my kids aren't any happier, my relationship's not going great. And they start to feel this building up of pain inside. And this is when people merge into green. And green is the origin of the sensitive self. It's the origin of the deeply feeling self. In green, we start to want to diminish all the hierarchy that happened in orange. And what happens is green says everyone is equal. Everyone is the same. Green really started to come on board in the late 60s. And if you think about Woodstock and Haight-Ashbury in San Francisco and the hippie movement, everyone was equal, everything was free, it was free love, it was make love, not war. It was really getting connected to your emotions and being okay to have what you want and express what you want, and getting out of the system that was so powerful in orange and in blue. So again, the blue structures, if you think about blue, a lot of the structures that are there are like the church, the government, and the laws are all rule and role based. So we break out that into orange, and then green, it's going to be really allergic to those two levels, because it wants to be all in the freedom of expression, it wants everyone to feel good, it wants all of our emotions to be heard and felt and seen. And you can start to see that there's a lot of value in that in a business. But the other challenge with green that shows up is because everyone is equal, there's no hierarchy. And when there's no hierarchy, what starts to happen is that people feel bad for being a leader, and they feel bad for charging money, and they feel bad for having more than their clients or knowing more than their clients. And this typical business structure that exists in green is a nonprofit. And if you think about those words, I mean, beautiful that they're helping save the whales. I'm very grateful that's happening, but it's a non-profit. Wouldn't it be great if we were making some profit and doing really good stuff in the world? But at green, it doesn't want to do that. It just wants to take care of the people, and that's lovely and beautiful. For solo entrepreneurs, being at this level is often very challenging to continue to make income and impact, because there's just not enough energy in the system. So one of the things you may start to notice is that blue is going to have very specific opinions about orange, and orange about blue, and green about orange, and orange about green. So blue looks at orange and says, you self-centered people, you need to go back to church. You're bending all these rules in these corporate environments, and we're like slaves in the factory. And orange says to blue, like, yeah, you can come and work in my factory. I'm going to give you a job, but why aren't you doing anything to actually better yourself and get ahead? Look at all these things that I have. And if it's a not healthy orange, it's going to say, I'm better than you. But even if it is healthy, it's not really going to fully understand why they're not taking the bull by the horns. And then orange looks at green and says, what are you guys doing? Just sitting there feeling all your feelings. Like, there's so much work to be done. There's so much more that you could be doing to strive. Don't you want to go out and get a good job? Don't you want to make a lot of money? Don't you want to get ahead and get safe? And green doesn't really care about that. Green looks at orange and says, you guys with your factories are just polluting the environment. You're just pulling all these resources out of the ground, and you're ruining the world. And you're pushing all these people in your factory, whether it's in this country or in the third world, and you're creating all this pain and suffering, and that's not okay. And if you think about it, if you stand in the shoes of all of these people, they're right. All of them are right, even though they're conflicting. They are correct from their worldview. And it's really important to recognize that, because a lot of what we are doing, the people who are attracted to the type of material that I'm teaching, is we're operating from a completely different level. And at this next level, called Teal, it's the first time that we are able to see, oh no, green's good. Oh no, orange is good. Oh no, blue is good. All these levels are good. We really want to take into consideration that some of our customers are going to be here. If we push that away, then we're not going to have the connection and the rapport to really get the customer where they need to go. So one of the things that I love teaching is, and I'll talk about Teal more in a moment, but where are you in the spectrum? Where's your level of development, and what might be asking to show up next? And then where's your customer? And then what's the language they're using? How do they want to be connected to? How do they want to be felt and known and seen? Because the copy and the languaging and the landing page for a green customer is going to be vastly different than it's going to be for an orange customer. So this is a big confusion in the marketplace. There's not just one customer out there. There's multiple customers that are all existing in a marketplace, and we need to find good ways to be selective with our marketing dollars and with our marketing time and energy, and really focusing it at the right spot. So like I said, Teal for the first time is looking at all these levels and saying, what beautiful things happen in green. Look at orange, oh my God, they're working so hard, isn't that awesome? And blue, these role followers, these caretaking, these nurturers, they just want to help everyone. I really love that, and they're so hardworking and earnest. And Teal says, thank God. And we can't get lost in this anymore. We need to have systems, we need to have ways of looking at things, perspectives and worldviews that are sophisticated enough to see all this in action, to really see everything happening. So in Teal, one of the things that's important to our conversation that starts to come back is hierarchy in a way that's really serving the whole collective. So in orange, if you think about a corporate environment, there's a lot of hierarchy, and it's what is called dominator hierarchy. So that's power over. In Teal, and the next level, turquoise, what you're going to see is a liberator hierarchy. What we want to do is liberate people to be who they want to be, to have the experiences that they want to have, as long as it's not encroaching on or damaging anyone else. So this complexity and this way of really seeing the whole world starts to come out in Teal, and there just tends to be searching for really people who understand who they are, can hold these perspectives and aren't lost in all this sauce, and ways to do their work in the world that feel accurate and robust and meaningful, that really are going to be more world changing. And the second level up here in what we call the second tier is turquoise. And turquoise is similar to Teal with two primary differences. It's going to really start to look at whole systems, and it's really going to start to understand how the interconnected systems that go inside of each other are making interconnections that would be lost on someone in green or orange or blue. They would just say, oh, that's complicated, make it simple. That happens, make it simple happens a lot in green too. But turquoise is saying, no, this is connected to this, and this is all interconnected. And at some point in turquoise, they're saying, this feels like there's like some energy happening here, and there's some, like there's a kind of a directionality, and spirit is guiding this, or there's like a sense of everything being a little bit more animated by something greater than the self. So there's a real spirituality that starts to show up in turquoise that's not a blue, like, hey, you should come to my church. That's not a green, like everything is energy and it's all okay and we're all one. That's different. This is like, I want to be at the helm of a ship that's being guided by the truth of who I am, and managing a system that makes massive change in the world for the good, the true, and the beautiful. And those are three things you're going to hear me talk about a lot if you come to this event: the good, the true, and the beautiful. And that's really what I'm inviting all of us to be steering our boat towards. These businesses that we're stewarding, they can be creating ever bigger cascading ripples of the good, the true, and the beautiful. And most people who are attending these events and who are interested in doing this type of work are saying, thank God, how can I build a business that makes me a really great living, it helps me really be financially supported, supports my soul gifts, and is creating more good, more truth, and more beauty in the world. Understanding where you are, understanding where your customer is going to be really valuable and important in this. So we're going to be baking this into the whole conversation so that it's in the kind of the background of who we are experiencing ourselves as, who we are experiencing everyone else in the room as, and who we are experiencing our customers as. So I hope this has been helpful. We can dig into it more. If you're looking for resources on this, Integral Vision by Ken Wilber, Integral Meditation are usually the first two places that I send people. If you want to get really deep in the spiritual side of this, a book called The Religion of Tomorrow is probably my favorite, and it's a nice big nerd out on this stuff. So I'll see you again in just a minute in another video, and hopefully looking forward to see you over the weekend.